Welcome back for one of Delta Y. This week we'll be talking about
Four base units of measure in the metric system that are about to be changed.
small plastic balls that could be used with your washing your clothing to help reduce plastic pollution,
A new prosthetic hand system that allows a user to feel again.
and a way to use mathematical modeling to improve flu vaccines.
And a funny incident with a UK fisherman.
I'm Josh,
I'm Grayson.
and this is Delta Y.
Alright, so the first article we're going to be talking about today is how force-based units of measurement in the metric system are about to be changed. This is coming to us from physics.org, where officials at the General Conference on Weights and Measures have announced that at a meeting to be held next week, the 4 of the 7 base units of the metric system will need to be redefined. The 4 units under review are the ampere, the kilogram, the mole, and Kelvin.
And I think this will be really interesting to see where this goes because, the ampere, we rely on that for our major. Kilogram, that every engineer relies on. Mole and Kelvin, I would say that's
More chemical engineers and more.
that's more everyone else.
Yeah, that's more everyone
Honestly,
else but
everyone
us.
other than us has to use those more than we do.
Well, I mean, just software
But-
engineers need to use that to
No.
But
But-
software, pretty much anyone outside of the electrical stack needs to use that.
It's interesting to read about this because the measurement they've been using, it sits in a protective spot, and every 40 years it's taken out of its protective housing and measured. And it's that they're right now they're saying, well, this isn't going to last much longer. So
Well, I think that it's being changed in terms of the precision behind it, like how the meter was originally determined by an etching on a metal stick, and now it's defined by how fast light travels through a vacuum. Like that's how much better we've gotten at defining what a meter is, how much more precise we can get it to be. I think that's going to be the same thing with these 4 measurements.
And I mean, this has been they've been going through more precise ideas for a few years. I mean, the last time they did this was in 1983. The speed of light got changed to be what it is now. I'm not going to read the whole number. I really don't like doing that because I'll mess it up.
Okay, fine.
But-
299 million. 792,458 meters per second.
And, I mean, that was defined in 1983. But the interesting way...
And we just round that up to three
C.
Three
It's C.
It's just C.
Yeah, I like calling it C. But the interesting thing, the C here, will be, they used to do this measurement by, it was a mass of, what was it?
It's a platinum iridium alloy held in a bell jar in France.
Yeah, so what they're going to go to now is using the Planck constant, it's interesting how they're doing this. I mean, it's going to be much, much more precise. You want to talk about how they're doing it?
Okay, so it's being measured by a tool called the Kibble Balance, and from what I've read, it's very complex, and it measures the amount of electrical current necessary to create an electromagnetic force that is equal to a force acting on a given mass. I can't even imagine what kind of apparatus they have to use.
It's got to be ridiculous, but it's like they're doing this where instead of doing a definite mass, they're finding a force that they're calculating as the mass, and that's...
Well, I mean, technically, force is just Newton's second law. Force equals mass times acceleration. And
yeah.
we just get out that acceleration, which in this case is g, 9.8 meters per second squared, and you get the mass.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this will be interesting to see how it affects, are we going to have to change things?
Well, I
for
mean,
this is the question.
I already sent that to a couple of my professors already, and that's going to be pretty interesting to see how if this change takes place, how physics, like some of our physics classes, are going to change, if at all, in terms of... I mean, it shouldn't, because it's just the precision of it, most likely. Just the precision of each of these units is just going to change by how they're defined, but I can't imagine seeing them being changed radically.
Yeah.
I mean, if you took that ball of platinum iridium and shaved off a piece, you would literally be changing the definition of a kilogram. I'm pretty sure there was like a Veritasium video that I saw on that. The roundest object in the world, I think is what it was.
Yeah. And this is, I believe it's just a cylinder that they use for that. I mean, it looks like a mass. That's, if you think about your standard physics mass, that's what it looks like. And it'll be interesting to see, are they going to move to making more measurements across the world more accurate like this?
Yeah.
Are we moving towards a new age where, we had the information age, or we're going to have the accuracy age, where perhaps we just want to be accurate with things in our lives?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, the information age, that's more related to historical stuff rather than accuracy age. I think that might be a little bit misattributed in my opinion, in terms of what it is, in terms of accuracy versus information.
I mean,
are
are we moving towards a world where we want to be more accurate with things we do? I mean, historically, we've always wanted to be accurate.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous levels of accuracy.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to be throwing out sig figs anytime soon.
Don't even get me started on that. But, this is definitely one to follow, I think, folks, and, to see how this plays out, because this won't change until 2019. I mean, they have to first meet about it, talk about it. It's a bunch of scientists, so it's going to take a lot of discussion.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of yes, no, this is why. And, it'll be interesting to see, in the end, when this is going to take place. But
if the measures pass, it'll take effect May of next year, 2019.
May 9th, 2019. And if you want to follow the meetings on the 26th, it's the 26th meeting of this General Assembly, and it's the 13th to the 16th of November of this year.
I don't know if they broadcast those at all, like on YouTube or something. I doubt they would, considering how dry some of the stuff might be.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure you could follow along and find out more about it.
Definitely minutes would be available at some respect on their website, maybe.
Definitely. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about. So this article is a little more of a story, but it was about a couple of people who noticed, they were, outdoorsy people, and they lived in, the east coast of the U.S., and they noticed one day how, after a storm, a lot of pollution and plastics washed up on the shore.
Well, who's they?
It was, let's see, windsurfing teacher
Rachel Miller.
Yep. And so she was studying marine archaeology, devoted herself to keeping plastics from the ocean. So what she started selling is to actually not protect against what you would think is our plastic pollution. What you do with it is it's about 10 centimeters across, 4 inches, and you put it in. It's a little ball in with your wash. So when you do a lot of laundry, it's made to catch the microfibers that come off your clothes. And the reason is you can lose up to like 700,000 microfibers in your standard household load. So,
what do these microfibers do exactly?
So what they do is when they collect in the ocean, it's not like they spread out. They coagulate and they turn into like kind of a thick, soupy, solution. So, animals go through that and they can't shed that out of their system. Mm-hmm. They're going to quote unquote suffocate.
Or it's going to get into their biological systems in a way that cannot be excreted.
Yeah,
it's going to choke off their systems.
But I mean, they're saying the typical household load of laundry sheds 13 pounds of these microfibers. Now, I'm not sure what they consider a typical household load. That seems like a lot. But I can, it's maybe a couple loads of laundry. And the trick is finding out how to catch these, because these fibers are tiny. They're as small as 3 microns. So
well, I mean, the size of the balls, that's like 4 inches. That's actually relatively
big.
I mean, that's relatively big for a load of laundry, but that's surprising that. What'd you say? Like a couple of microns in size? Mm-hmm. That 4-inch ball. I mean, I've seen there's pictures of these, and they just look like pieces of corn with little O-rings on the ends, basically.
But I mean, they're good enough where what they do is they cushion the clothing so it doesn't bounce around as much, doesn't lose as many fibers, and it catches a lot of those that form. So the way that they do this, if you put these in the wash,
it says 6 kilograms or 13-pound household load. So 13 pounds of laundry would catch up to 700,000 microfibers.
That makes a lot more sense.
We don't get a weight on that. I can't seem to find a weight on here about that, but that seems if there's
that is a lot of microfibers.
Well, I mean, what's the weight of a microfiber? What's the area of it? I'd actually like to see a definition of that to see how much we're actually putting into our ecosystem. That'd actually be pretty interesting to figure out.
And the interesting thing here to read about is that 2/3 of fish species in California have microfibers in them when they're sold. So this is like, it can impact us as people when we're eating fish. You can get microfibers in your fish.
Well, well, that's actually something I don't think this article clarifies, is what microfibers are exactly. Like, just tiny it's just tiny bits of synthetic material. But how does that impact us exactly? I mean, polyester, cotton, maybe, right?
Cotton wouldn't be considered a microfiber. It's too big.
Okay.
Yeah, but polyesters and like natural, like non-natural things, pretty much.
All right.
And the interesting thing here to read is that if 10% of the U.S. uses these for their washes, it would be the equivalent of taking 30 million water bottles from washing into public waterways a year. So it's like 30 million plastic water bottles out of washing into the water.
Interesting.
Because the trick is, when it goes through a sewage treatment plant, it doesn't catch these.
Wow.
Like their
filters are
their
either
filters
too
aren't
big
good enough. Yeah, because their
that.
filters are made to catch larger things,
larger particulates.
and regulations don't require them to. So I mean, if you're not regulated to catch something, why would you waste your money to catch it?
True. This is true because most
so-
people don't really notice the quality of that.
Yeah. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to read about this.
They
and see where it
actually
goes.
have a Kickstarter here that I'd like to. I mean, this seems like a pretty interesting thing to promote just in general.
Yeah. And what is it called exactly?
Uh,
Coral ball. Or
Cor-
coral
Cora.
ball.
Yeah, coral without the L. Coral ball.
Coral ball. So if you guys want to go give them a little hand. However,
The
It may have ended.
The Kickstarter closed in December of last year,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure there might be something on their Kickstarter about where to buy these elsewhere. I think it was 15,500 of these Cora balls have already been sold in 2017. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and this will be really interesting to see because, I mean, this is something that can impact us all. Because if you do anything, pretty much, you can ingest microfibers, just living. So it'll be interesting to follow. Definitely go give them a little help if you can, if they still accept, donations or anything. And I think when this technology comes out, it's something that everyone should look into using because it's something that's super easy. It's going to be reusable, and you could save the environment with it.
All right, that sounds pretty cool. Next up, we got an article coming out from Science Daily. This has to do with a new prosthetic hand system that allows a user to feel again. This comes to us from research from Arizona State University, where researchers have developed a new prosthetic hand system with a fully implanted, wirelessly controlled neurostimulator that has restored feeling to a person's hand to a person with a hand amputation. So Arizona State University researcher James Abbas is a part of a multi-institutional research team that has developed a new prosthetic hand system that can restore feeling.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, think of the people, like how many people in the world have lost limbs. And if you can give them the ability, it's just like giving somebody, okay, this isn't an extreme as giving somebody who can't hear the ability to hear again.
But it's another dimension of human interaction that has been restored.
It is one of the senses. And
Like I remember seeing in my psychology class what was called a homunculus, or this idea of how it's basically a little structure of a man whose human proportions of their limbs, of pretty much anything that they use, is proportional to how much they interact with them. So your hands are like huge, your tongue is huge, your eyes are big.
oh, I've seen one of these, yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
huge.
really freaky to look at.
It's freaky to look at, but it articulates exactly how much of our world is perceived with our hands, with our skin on our hands. Now, normally with prosthetics, you'd normally be able to just grasp something, but you wouldn't be able to feel that you're grasping it. You wouldn't be able to feel the
You wouldn't
texture.
be able to feel anything about it. And, this technology is amazing because you could have people now who can live back their lives pretty much. I mean, they can get back their lives of, you could feel things again.
Well, I mean, people have gotten prosthetic hands before that have been able to regain function mostly.
Yeah,
but
I mean, those have been around forever. I mean,
True. But my idea, or my perception of it being that you wouldn't have someone that's gonna like crush something because they can't feel what the limit is. You can't.
They're relying on
limit.
They're relying on machinery
Yeah.
to find that limit for them, and having this. And the awesome thing here is you think about it, it's wireless, so you don't have to have wires running up your arm or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can. It's fully implanted, so you don't have to see it, and that's amazing to me because that's just so far out from what we have currently with modern technology, and the ability to give somebody back one of their senses that they lost through either a tragic accident or a birth defect or anything like that is something that I think is amazing and that science is doing a really good job at recently. I mean, this is on par with now instead of printing or like making kids prosthetics with birth defects, what they do is they just give them a 3D printer.
Yep.
And every year or every 6 months, they can just print another hand for themselves.
Yeah.
And this is on par, like, this is going to be a huge thing, I think, for anyone missing any limb. I mean, they get this to work in your feet, your hands. I mean, that's what comes to mind mostly for prosthetics.
Well, I've actually been trying to see if I can join in on that game a little bit myself, trying to 3D model around with a joint that only requires like 2 tensors or 2 tendons on the inside of a finger. Basically, what I can't really articulate this very well over a podcast, but basically you'd have 2 tendons running laterally on each side of a finger, essentially. And if you tense one but not the other, it would move the finger laterally one way. If you tense it the other way, it would contract it back to the original state of a hand. Think of like wagging a finger laterally back and forth. But if you tense both of them,
it curls.
It curls. Yeah, it curls. And then you could also do that with slightly more tension again and move that curled finger outward again. Providing, because normally with most prosthetic hands, they just grasp down on an object. They can't extend their fingers most of the times, and we're talking like 3D printed hands. So this would allow for a higher, I guess, grip area. You'd
have more grip. You'd have more ability to grip.
So I'm thinking like something like a softball or a baseball, even you'd be able to grip that. And I've been trying to work on that for about a year now, just trying to. Mainly it's just been me trying to learn the 3D modeling software, but now that I've been able to get a 3D printer, I can actually start to get this up and running, which is going to be very interesting to see how this could actually be integrated with something.
And I'm sure, I mean, this is going to be really expensive for probably a couple of years. And then I imagine, like most things in life that come out, it's going to dip down way in price.
Yeah.
And we'll have this more in the mass market.
True.
But this will be an awesome thing to watch because it gives people, that have experienced different things in life who, have lost something or were never allowed to have it, gives them the ability to have that back. And that's an amazing thing to give people because this is going to be able, like, if you want to hold someone's hand, you're going to be able to feel their hand, which is something so many people in this world have lost the ability to do.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that I could think of right off the top of my head is how we can apply this to other nerve applications for other sensory input. Take eyes or ears, for example. Because this is wireless, but the main input comes from a thin wire input into a nerve. If we can have an external processor then send information back wirelessly, you wouldn't need to have a bulky system. You could just have the little chips sending and receiving signals to the eye or to the ear and have the external pack elsewhere on the body, so you can actually focus more on the application itself of, let's say, an eye just receiving and sending signals and have the mass computation of it elsewhere on the body.
Yeah, and then this just opens a whole can of worms for everything. I mean, this will allow scientists to fix just about everything that you could think of. And, it's going to take a decade or two, and I mean, obviously this is already out in the world. I mean, they've fitted this to somebody to test it. And it's going to be awesome to see, where can they go with this? How can they use this a little more? And, how is it going to impact the rest of us as well?
Yeah, there's a whole ethics conversation that I don't really want to get into right now because that would take up way too much of our time slot. But it'd be pretty interesting to see. All right, you want to tackle that next article you got?
Absolutely. The next one's also helping people out. It's how mathematical modeling is improving flu vaccine. Oh. So since, how long has it been? It's been years, For a long time, for 50 years, so half a century, scientists have pretty much been taking the most popular flu from the last season, injecting it into ferrets, and figuring out what vaccines work. And that's how they find the human vaccine. So this works somewhat, but you still have massive amounts of people that contract influenza.
And even more that are dying from it.
Yeah, I mean, you get almost 50 million illnesses from the flu and
roughly about 80,000.
Yeah, 80,000 deaths annually since 2010. So this is really it is a big deal that a lot of us just kind of go whatever, because you eat a flu shot, you kind of go with it. You're told it's gonna be fine, but I mean that's still a lot of people.
Unnecessary death. Unnecessary illness.
Let's see, up to 58% of healthy children and 37% of adults obtain the vaccine. So a third of people are getting the vaccine.
Well, and part of this also plays into like whole herd inoculation, or basically not herd mentality, but how a herd of people can what's it called?
Mob mentality?
No, not mob mentality. That's psychology. It's like what is it? It's when a large group of people who have had the vaccine or have been inoculated against a virus outnumbers the number of people that actually have that virus or have a potential to get that virus who haven't been inoculated. It actually...
Oh, I know.
It
I've
helps.
heard of that before. I don't know the actual name.
Yeah, but it kind of plays into that a little bit. I think that would at least play into the mathematical model, at least somewhat, right?
Yeah, definitely. So what they're trying to do is they're using mathematical modeling to figure out, they're going to run, thousands of ways or thousands of mutations of the flu, and they're going to see which one is going to be most common. And I am definitely not well versed in any of this, but it'll be interesting to see, could this get, far, far better results? Could we see a much better vaccine strand? And could we see a lot more people being saved? Now, the trick is, I don't think it's going to increase the amount of people saved. But the reason I don't think that is because it's just people not getting vaccinated. Or people that can't afford to or don't have the ability to.
This is also true.
So they're behind on their goal of getting everyone vaccinated. But if they can find a way to make finding this vaccine cheaper, I definitely think that's going to be better in the long run because you can devote your money towards other things in the world, and the CDC does not have unlimited funds.
This is also true.
So this is definitely one to follow because it does affect everybody, and it'll be a good one to see. Are we going to find a new way to find the flu vaccine, possibly in just a couple of years? Because this old way of doing it has it's starting to die out, I think, and it's a lot of ferrets.
That's a lot of ferrets, yeah.
So,
all right, and on a bit of a lighter note, not having to do with so much glum and dreary news with vaccines and whatnot, we have a little bit funny article having to do with a UK fisherman being saved from aggressive seals. This comes to us from US News, where a British fisherman had to be rescued from a cliff face after fleeing an aggressive colony of more than 50 grey seals and their pups. The Coast Guard said on Monday.
And this was off a cliff in southeastern Scotland.
Oh, gosh.
So, you can imagine what that man must have been saying and thinking at the moment.
I was just trying to hunt some seals, man. Hey, those damn seals, they were coming at me with pitchforks and knives. No, sir, are you sure you had too much to drink? Oh, no, wait, no, that's Ireland. What am I talking about?
Yeah, that'd be Ireland. Scotland is more
my accent is terrible. What am I talking about?
Please don't ever do that again.
Yeah, okay.
But it took them more than 2 hours to set up the rope system and bring the fisherman down to the beach to help him. Oh, jeez. Oh, dear. So, this is, 370 miles north of London, or 600 kilometers.
Yeah.
And he was okay. He just got treated for exposure to the cold, so a little bit of cold, probably not even frostbite.
I didn't even know they had seals up in the UK.
Well, the weird thing is this is not a common occurrence, they're saying. So this is kind of an interesting thing, and usually seals don't come in big packs like this. They must have been protecting their habitat or their young.
Migrating, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. And honestly, they could have been natural to this place. I guess I don't know a lot about North Scotland. Southeast Scotland.
Gray seals. So
gray seals could be...
they might be more native there than I think some other types of seals. I don't particularly know off the top of my head.
Yeah, my mind just straight goes to Arctic seals and seals like that.
Yeah.
That's just what comes to mind first.
But still, how would you get scared of a bunch of seals? They look so cute. They look so cute.
They're water pups.
They're water... Oh, yes.
They're water dogs. Yep.
The gray seals, they can be vicious, man. Don't go up to the water. Don't go in the water. The gray seals will get you.
I guess that the reality out of this is don't anger a bunch of seals.
Don't mess with nature.
This is a stampede of seals.
Stampede of 50
and if you think of how seals move, that had to be the funniest thing that you're trying to not die from.
It's
just a bunch of things waddling at you really, really terribly.
That had to be the funniest parody of 28 Days Later that I could have possibly ever seen.
Yeah, so that's kind of just a little lighthearted story to end on today, because we covered some harsher things today, but we hope you enjoyed.
All right.
As always, I'm Josh.
I'm Grayson, and this has been Delta Y.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook. We have a Facebook now. Twitter at Y_Delta. And on Facebook, we are Delta Y. You can search us up. We do have a page.
We also launched our YouTube page, so we're now going to be releasing all of our episodes there as well.
And that'll be on Delta Y Podcast on YouTube. And we also still have that Patreon, so if you're still interested in supporting us, giving us the ability to do more and find more people, talk to people.
We're looking to
professionals.
start. Yeah, we're looking to start doing some interviews with engineering and other STEM faculty. Once we are able to get enough money to get another mic. After that, we'll also be looking to get Josh his own mic, because right now we're working on a single mic setup right now.
Yeah, it's working pretty well so far.
It's working pretty well, but I think it'd be better if we each had our own inputs.
I agree. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this week. After all, stay creative.
And we will see y'all next time.